Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are we are very, very grateful tonight to have Julie Kerr from CBC presenting on multi-platform content delivery, fragmentation of audiences, and revenue streams. A really, really critical subject for media companies, for broadcasters on how to engage people on multiple platforms. So really looking forward to Julie's presentation. And just to make sure everyone is hearing me okay, if you could just post in the chat that you're hearing me okay, that would be great. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So yeah. As I said, very grateful to Julie. Thank you. Merci to Julie. Thank you. Merci to CBC Radio Canada. And thanks to our sponsors as well. Our gold sponsors Applied and Tag. And some very quick updates, and we're going to get to Julie really fast. But many of you will have received an email from SMPTE Toronto about our second social meetup. Our first one was so much fun. We're doing it again. So Tuesday, November 18th at Grace O'Malley's. Please stop by anytime after work between 5 and 8. There's no formalities, no registration, no tickets. Just come, just show up. And enjoy everyone's company. So looking forward to that. Please spread the word as well. Anyone you know, tell them about it. And our LinkedIn page, we have a new LinkedIn page. Please subscribe and follow. And I see Jamie has posted in the chat. So please, now that you're all watching on computer or tablet or phone, easy to click. If you haven't followed already, just click that and follow SMPTE Toronto. That would be most appreciated. Our followers, we're having really significant growth on that LinkedIn page. New followers up 536% in the last 7 days, and page visitors up 400% in the last 7 days. Also, we're working hard on our SMPTE Toronto boot camp for May 21st, 2026. So lots of lead time, but we're doing a lot of work on that. We're focusing on sports. So the working title is Game Changers, the Future of Sports, Live Production, and Fan Experience. We're going to have a full day of really, really important and interesting papers and discussions. We certainly appreciate all our members. If you're not a member, please consider becoming one. And you can become a friend as well. So getting into it. So multi-platform content delivery, fragmentation of audiences, and revenue streams. So please at any point tonight, post your questions and comments in the Q&A. And this meeting tonight will be recorded and posted on the SMPTE Toronto YouTube channel. So this meeting's presentation, as mentioned, will be Julie Kerr, who is the Executive Director, Revenue Strategy and Foresight Media Solutions for CBC Radio Canada. Welcome and bienvenue to Julie. So Julie Kerr is a digital media innovation leader with over 2 decades of experience. Julie Kerr has been at the forefront of the industry's evolution, driven by a strong commitment to digital transformation and a concern for a sustainable Canadian media industry. Her extensive experience in digital transformation emerged during the disruption of the news and magazine sectors at TC Media and Rogers. This was followed by direct work with brands as Vice President of Media Strategy for Glassroom and Group M. At the CBC, Julie is currently leading the transition of media investments from traditional linear broadcast to new digital streaming products. Her focus on responsible media and sustainability initiatives is further demonstrated through her role as acting chair of IAB Canada's Responsible Advertising Centre of Excellence, where she oversees the AI and emerging platforms, DEI, and sustainability committees. Driven by a curiosity to understand the impacts of AI on consumer media engagement, Julie's passion for exploring the cutting edge of media technology and audience engagement makes her a compelling voice on the future of broadcasting. Julie, welcome.
Hi.
Hey, all
Sorry.
right, and
I don't
we
think
are.
I've ever read that one. That's sorry. I feel nervous now.
Oh, no, don't, please don't. We're looking forward to your presentation, and I will. And Julie, I'll stop sharing at this point, and you can go ahead and
Um,
share your screen.
Luckily we tested this before. Should still work. Am I good?
Yeah, gotcha.
All right. Bonsoir tout le monde. Thank you for having me. I'm looking here, but I've got two screens, so I'll be turning around a couple of times. So I apologize. I don't do this very often at all. But I did give this presentation to your group in Montreal over the summer, and it was quite an honor and a room to be there and to understand a little bit of what you guys do. Um, I am a media generalist from the revenue side. So I will bring a perspective. I'm not a technologist. I understand how things connect and how things work to make money and grow revenue from the sale of advertising. But the growth of digital television has really been expansive in the last couple of years. And it's what we've been working on primarily with my team at CBC. I'll start off with a few acronyms because every division, and I know you guys have a whole other slew of acronyms, and sometimes they'll overlap and will mean completely different things. Like, for instance, connected television (CTV) is not CTV, the broadcaster. For us, it's connected television. And really OTT, if I do pull some measurement statistics throughout the presentation, when I refer to OTT, we really mean any video that's distributed across devices. So that can be from a video from the Weather Network, watching the storm in Montreal that we had this week, your TikTok, your Samsung, sorry, your streaming and whatnot. When we talk about connected TV, we're really talking about the device in the living room screen. So it can still be your streamers and your VOD or your. I think that's those are the two major acronyms that might come up when we talk about research that sometimes pose some challenges. What other acronyms that we have that we speak about, and I'll try not to use them a lot, but this is really the ecosystem that's exploded in the last 10 to 15 years with the rapid growth of streaming. So in OTT we have subscription video on demand, SVOD, so Netflix that really introduced the concept, I think, years ago. Ad supported video on demand, or FAST now, is really anything that has advertising revenue. TVOD is really transactional video on demand, where you're just paying for that one movie or one series at a time, which is still available. And then your virtual BDUs, which you guys are familiar with. But what you can start seeing here is that across categories, every supplier of content or broadcaster is now doing multiple distribution modes to reach clients where they are. The one new element that we'll talk about and some of the challenges and opportunities that we have is also the entry of OEMs in the industry a couple years ago with smart television. And instead of being just manufacturers and televisions like days of old, they've really come in and not only demanded another licensing partner and distribution partnership, but now they're actually producing or ordering content of their own, and they've entered the advertising ecosystem so that they're really an actor, a competitor, and a collaborator at the same time. And that's one of my favorite words is co-competitors, where we have to work closely together, but at the same time we compete for the same ad dollars. Which is another piece of the puzzle that we'll be talking about today. But for users, and I really try to bring it back to what is it people are experiencing at home? What are your families? What are we watching? I think there are really two modes that users have, and it's really the on demand, that VOD, where, depending on your household, I think the average, the last stats I saw was that it was like 12 minutes to pick something to watch when you want to watch VOD and video on demand. The other option is live, but live is also linear. And I know here we can have debates on whether it's live linear or is it linear when it's in digital. But we do have linear streams in digital on our applications as well, which is kind of confusing. But the concept is really that old television experience in a linear mode, distributed digitally. So in the case of here, it's an example of Pluto and their fast channel, which is for free ad-supported streaming television. So these it's consuming television in the ways that consumers are used to. They're more leaning back, putting the television on, having their here favorite channel of Blue Bloods, because you can't get enough of Blue Bloods. I'll walk through 5 trends for connected TV. I don't think I'll be teaching you anything new, but sometimes it's something that you know intuitively. Now I can confirm those with some of the industry numbers, but I'll also try to give you some of more of our internal data that we look at and our sales teams. The first is in terms of the business models. And I think it's important to know that, commercials haven't gone away. When people talk and say TV is dying or TV is going to disappear. Well, television ad experience has not. And what we saw is in the subscription model, the business model has actually come to maturity. Netflix was the first to market, and you can see this purple. I hope you guys see my cursor because I'm using it to describe the lines, but the purple line is Netflix. And you can see that they've really plateaued in terms of subscription and really the share of wallet for not only Canadian consumers, but I think globally is really not limited when it comes to entertainment. And now people are, abandoning one, swapping. So there's a lot of churn for subscription in the industry. There's a lot of bundles. So what was old, which is the cable subscription, has now come to digital, and it's just a different delivery method of the of different ways of packaging your favorite shows and your favorite programming. And what that means is really the return of advertising to the streaming screen. So even, when Netflix started, you never thought you would have an ad on Netflix. And now you can have an ad-supported model. And Netflix and Disney now both have an increased, all of their increase in subs came from the ad-free offers. Sorry, not the ad-free. Their increase in subs came from their ad-supported. And what we've seen, and I saw in recent numbers, is actually in Canada, Netflix ratio, 80% of subs watch ad-free. They stuck with their old memberships, and the new growth came in with ad-supported. Amazon Prime did the reverse, right? Like they had everybody free, and what they did is they converted everybody to ads, and you have to pay a premium to avoid ads. And so they have this different ratio where 80% of their subs now have ads and 20% have are subscription based. So different models and different opportunities there, because for Amazon Prime, they really see the value in that big screen advertising across their ecosystem of services and data that they have. What does that mean for us? Well, these are brands with global marketing clout. And so here you're looking at a screen on a Roku television, a smart television. And this is a largely unregulated market in Canada. So when we're talking about cable or traditional television, the CRTC has strong distribution regulations in Canada, Canadian content regulations, French content regulations. But when it comes to smart televisions, and over the web, those rules don't necessarily apply. And so CBC, Radio-Canada, CTV News, Bell Media, Rogers, Québecor, TVA, we all have to compete now with the giants. And what that means is if you're turning on your TV screen in your Roku, we're not going to be on the top of the screen most of the time, or on your Samsung or on your LG. We can buy that spot. So this is where Roku does a lot of has a lot of revenue with their partner monetization, you can definitely buy those premium positionings to help promote your key series. But what happens is if Netflix is putting out Emily in Paris, it's doing so globally and they're buying out those positions globally. So it's really cost prohibitive for us with our limited budgets as well. So discovery on these screens is a big issue for Canadian content and French Canadian content in particular in Quebec. Second trend, Canadians are connected. I feel like I really don't need to do this because it feels obvious, but it's not necessarily. We need to really realize that, you know, those days are here now, especially Quebec was a little slower, but now basically 80% of people have a smart TV. You can't buy, and people, as soon as they replace, and they're giving them away in some cases. If you watch ads and provide your data, you can get a free television screen. Here's a look at some data in terms of how people are consuming video across multiple screens. And depending on what group we're looking at, if we're looking at the share of OTT viewing, excluding television linear, then 51% of viewing is occurring on your living room screen. 30% is on your mobile, and 13%, which is, you know, at lunch or when you get to work, is happening on your desktop. When we look at all of video viewing, including linear, well, then that changes quite a bit. So, although television is, you know, quote unquote dying, it's still commanding the large share of media consumption. But that is shrinking as well in terms of proportion. So I know you said this is being recorded. So huge caveat that this is MVP data. Numeris, which is the measurement for traditional television, has been working on video ad measurement for a couple of years. So the Quebec data has been in the market for 3 or 4 years. So the research team is more solid on those numbers. But just this fall, do we have first national numbers for, you know, this whole holistic view of what is happening on the large screen with both streaming and video? So measurement itself is actually an issue because we haven't to this day had measurement to say, okay, this is what people are watching across both Netflix and YouTube and Rogers Sports or TSN. So this is something that is quite necessary for us in the advertising space. But I'll get back to the point of this slide, which is that depending on the demo that you're looking at, you know, streaming and linear are really head to head now. So if it's 2+, older people are watching more of the traditional linear streams, but when we add younger audiences, it flips as 40-60 in the other way. So again, as you move out, as you buy a television, you're not getting cable anymore. We're going straight to digital and all of the options that we have. The second impact we started talking about in the ecosystem a little bit is that fragmentation. This is a look at a little bit of our sales sheet at CBC Radio-Canada. And so when I joined 4 years ago, we were about to relaunch the GEM and EC2 TV applications for television, which was a massive undertaking in terms of a technology deployment because you have to produce that application for 15 different platforms. So Roku has its own OS system, Chromecast has an operating system, Fire TV, LG. So each version of the application now has special requirements to be able to deliver that what appears to be a seamless user experience. So there's fragmentation in terms of the platforms that we deliver content on. Then we have fast channels. Our distribution team was really active and one of the first out there with CBC News, Radio-Canada streams on Roku. They've been a great partner. And now we're across Samsung TV Plus. We've got multitude of fast channels from, it's not even called Explore. I think we're rebranding that to just CBC News. We have CBC Comedy. We've got Murdoch Mysteries. And then over the past year, with our investment in local media, we really we launched a dozen of fast regional channels. So these are really important because they're about reaching Canadians where they are and being really, proximity is one of those key drivers in our strategy to be closer to people where they are. And so these fast channels now are available, and that really has a huge transformation from, the way our production teams are even conceiving the news, because they used to produce for the 6 p.m. Show, or the big evening show, and now news is happening live throughout the day. They can publish to YouTube. CBC and Radio Canada in regions are using YouTube channels very successfully to really engage and make it more proximal in nature. So that gives you an example of all of the content that we have to distribute and monetize at the same time. So if I'm selling to an advertiser, I want to sell them CBC, or the show that I talk the most is Tout le monde en parle, which is a Sunday night show on Radio Canada. You'll pardon my French. I'm sitting here from Montreal. But we're broadcasting that across all of these screens at the same time. So people can view live or in VOD, as we saw earlier. They really get to consume the content where and when they want it. But for an advertiser, if I'm selling to a financial institution, I'm selling that our audience across these multiple screens. To give you an inside view, this is what our distribution specifically look like for platform C2.tv. So you can see, like, our site here in gray is only 14% of viewing. iOS was 28%, here Android, but 49% is really happening on connected TV now. The lion's share is in the living room, and it's what we're seeing growth in. And I talk about this a couple of times in sales or in economics. You talk about that hockey stick effect, and this is, I think, as close as we'll ever get to one. But really, these are our connected TV audiences prior to the relaunch of 2.tv and GEM applications. And you can see the important growth, and we're continuing to grow that. And although we have challenges with distribution, both from a technology standpoint and from a marketing and partnership standpoint, we're seeing solid growth there from our partners. The downside, the impact of that fragmentation, is the complexity. So like I said, we're delivering the same show, but across a multitude of platforms, multitude of devices. So that means that for an advertiser, we have different specs, and we have to control and different technology, different abilities everywhere that we show our content. And another element that I'll come back to later on, that is really sort of fundamental now to monetization of video and television and digital, is data. And there are three major types of data that we work with. There are your content signals. Well, I'll also refer to these as metadata signals. So you can see, like, content signals would be your rating, your genre, the show name, the show type. We have our device signal. So is this a Samsung? Is this a Roku? Do I have IP? And then we have our audience signal. So when subscribers or viewers join, they authenticate. So we have their emails, and then we have their location, and we're trying to get a user ID profile so that we can not trace, but understand our users' journeys across our multitude of platforms. So if they're watching television, if they're watching GEM, or if they go to a news site, we can offer them and personalize their experience throughout our ecosystem. And this was our data map this summer, and you can see it gets quite complex for a team to manage and troubleshoot to see what data signals are going where and when. But this is the progress that we've made just in a few short months, really adding a lot of content metadata. And I'll get back to why these data signals are really essential to monetization a little bit further. The point here is really to show how complex it is to manage these signals across all of these devices in real time. More digital viewing. This is where we've been leading to. So yes, linear television has declined about 20% over the past 10 years, and connected TV has grown significantly here and gained that share. So in total, people are still watching TV, just in a different distribution mode. And again, that competition from giants. So this is not a slide that my research department wants us to share, because it is, unfortunately, it's not good news for the Canadian broadcast ecosystem. And again, these are also very early numbers, because it's the first edition of this diary, but it's telling us something that we know innately, and that's that the pure players, YouTube, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and TikTok, are really monopolizing the lion's share of streaming on the big screen. And here you see the Canadian ecosystem altogether is maybe 2% of that streaming. So that discoverability issue and is really driving these results. Uh, live is still really important, 52%. So VOD, everybody thinks, okay, digital means VOD, VOD, VOD. No, actually, people still really watch live. I think we know from the Blue Jays in the last World Series how enthralled everybody was and who missed a game. I don't know if you guys did a survey to see how many people made it to the 18th inning of that playoff game. But really, it's still almost 50-50 in terms of VOD and live. And live is so important that the giants are also entering the fray. So it's hard to keep up if you're a hockey fan or a football fan. Your season is probably spread across a few subscriptions, whether it's on Prime Video and Netflix entering the live game, and they've realized how difficult. And it's curious that you're having a live sporting production in the spring, because it is quite complicated, and I think they realize the hard way with some mishaps that broadcasting live in television is not that easy in sports. This is a sneak preview. It's sort of what does it looks like for us at CBC and video in terms of our advertising universe. So as you see, it's almost 50-50. VOD on GEM is stronger. And then on Tout TV, it's really people are catching up and watching live almost 50-50. The challenge we have for monetizing live, and I know if you guys are in the production business, you see this, we call this a slate. So if you're watching VOD or a live show, sorry, you won't see this in VOD, but if you're watching the news live or your favorite show or Tout le monde en parle Sunday night, and if Céline Dion makes a sudden appearance at the Olympics like she did in Paris, the odds are we have a lot more people tuning in and viewing than we have ads that can support that are asking for those screens. So it is a little bit of offer and demand. But it's also those data signals. So when we are selling and commercializing so much news, Tout le monde en parle is a show on Sunday nights for family. But for some, it can be categorized as news. And if that rating is news, and in our sales and digital sales, an advertiser such as Toyota says they don't want news, then they'll be missing out on an entire audience of Tout le monde en parle, just because of that one signal and data point that an agency or a buyer has set up. So all of that to say that these are I'm sneaking a preview of the challenges that we'll talk about in monetization. But in terms of producing live, where we see an opportunity and we're as excited about this summer, when you're looking at, new digital methods of production, new AI tools, and new signals that you can have, they'll help us improve the ad experience and limit the slates. Because the slate, for me, like I just want to change the channel when I get this, especially sometimes it's the same music. It was driving me nuts. But so not the ultimate user experience. And we know that we're really working on it, but it's better production at the source that we can help solve that. It's part of the equation. Advertising innovation driven by data. Again, here, nothing new that I'm going to teach you. You know, what's old is new again in advertising, from the sandwich man in, 100 years ago to today. The principles of advertising are really the same. You want to get your message out to the right people at the right time. So if I'm Air Transat, I want to be close to travel shows. And, what's really the talk of video advertising and connected TV advertising now is that promise for advertisers to have that personalization of the message to the right person at the right time. And with AI, what they want to be able to produce that television spot for you live from your experience from your show and your travel. So you can just imagine this ad on steroids. Transat right now, this is just a billboard ad on a website, but imagine you're watching a travel show, and now Transat knows that I'm Julie. I'm at home here in Montreal, and I just came back from Japan. And now they're showing me this travel show, and they'll send me an ad with, a female that looks like me, that sounds like me. I don't know, but with areas and countries that I want to visit. And at the same time, if my mom is watching this show, they could have the same ad, again, driven by AI, that's directed at maybe more group tours or products that are meant for senior citizens. So that promise that AI is bringing from the creative perspective of having that ad delivered and personalized is really something that's attractive to our advertisers. Even more so, this is one of the reasons that the manufacturers are going deep on the internet of home, and really understanding where you are. You can imagine Samsung now that, has your refrigerator, has your vacuum cleaner, and you have AI in everything. Well, Samsung knows when I'm turning my television on and when I run out of milk. So they can sell a television ad to the National Dairy Association. And Amazon's really a behemoth, but Amazon is really competing, with Google today in search, because they have such a broad ecosystem of retail data. So we're seeing really a lot of retail data on the rise, and they know what you're ordering. And imagine when you're having your first child, they know right away. So they probably know all of your children's ages, and they can tell you it's time for that birthday party, and all of a sudden you're watching TV, and you're seeing those ads for that local party store. Well, it's because Amazon has that data and makes it accessible for their partners to advertise, and they're leveraging Amazon Prime inventory to monetize that. And the other advantage that OEMs have in this whole ecosystem is they have what we call screen level data. And screen level data is automatic content recognition. If you guys remember Shazam, it's the best way I have of explaining it. It's like they have thousands of data signals every second and every minute. They know what you're watching. They know when you switch channels and what you tune in and when you tune off. So they know more about our fans of the Junos or of Tout le monde en parle than we do. They know what works and what doesn't. And so that's a big competitive advantage. And so how Roku sells itself in the market is really a data play. They're selling audiences, they're selling people, as opposed to us, where we're selling content and a brand. And where's that going to? Well, that personalization, again, with that data, is that virtual product placement. So imagine, I talked about a travel ad, but imagine now you're in a live cooking show, and Blue Ant, who has, a lot of this lifestyle, a Canadian producer, and distributing them across the world. I could see this be a viable product solution for them, because they're cooking shows, and then they could really switch in that product for a product that's available in the country of where their shows are then distributed. So we're seeing a bunch of different applications of video product placement, and yeah, we can talk about that. But it's in screen. It's you have a captive audience, and it's product placement that's always worked, and now you can do it virtually. And finally, the last big trend in advertising is not new. It's the return of the QR code, but really it's about engagement ads in television and really working with that remote control. You have remote control with, you have a shopping button, and it's really making your television the next shopping mall. Whether it's with Amazon or Roku, but having ads that you can engage with. So we have a few formats like these that we're testing out, and we actually see really good engagement. And you have, somebody sitting there who's really captive. So brands and retailers are really leaning into these types of formats. And so again, we need a lot of data to fuel that right time, to find the right time, the right person, and the right opportunity to be able to deliver these types of formats. I'm just going to take a minute here. So yeah, so these are 5 trends. Just a lot more fragmentation in the market means, higher complexity and higher production costs, higher operation costs for traditional operators like ourselves. The new competition from giants and the lack or slowness of regulation. Um, uh, and then finally, the challenge of monetizing live viewing has its own set of complexities. These are a few of the challenges that we've seen in the past couple of years. I'm going to try and do an exercise. This is where the fun comes. So I'm going to take you in through a couple of different scenarios. So now I'm really taking you into our space. So how does it work when we sell an ad? And I hope that, to do this exercise so that you can really, start to see where does that data come into play, where does that fragmentation come into play, and you probably know better, like at what point downstream in that production, with the AI, with the technology transformation that you see coming, that we'll be able to improve in terms of our ad product and monetization for Canadian broadcasters. Canadian conventional broadcasting seems, it was complicated, but now it seems pretty simple. You have agencies worked with the sales team. They had upfronts and Christmas. They had basically 2 buying seasons where they bought the entire year. A marketing VP at the time, basically went golfing all summer, and even over the holidays, their TV campaigns were bought, in 1 week during the upfronts for an entire season. And this is the linear broadcast system that you guys know much better than I do. And then we have our favorite show, Tout le monde en parle, and we have, a few scenarios. So the first persona, imagine Julie. I'm sitting here next to the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. I live alone. And then you have my sister who just had a baby, also urban, in her 30s, so much more active. And then you have my dad, and he's up in Tremblant. He's an avid skier. Don't tell him I gave him a crutch in this picture. He won't like that. But here we have a scenario. So Mercedes-Benz, up until 5 years ago, 80% of their budget in television was spent upfront for the season. And they handed over, and we had a war of numbers, and your audiences dictated where you would spend your money. And it was pretty even. You would fight on a couple of dollars in CPMs, or your agencies would fight on rebates. But basically, they would have, rational distribution of their budgets depending on those audiences. And then on the flip side of that, we would plan those and deliver across our ecosystem. So we were really able to manage our inventory and deliver the spots and deliver those audiences manually to those clients. And of course, while all 3 scenarios on Sunday nights, well, we see the same spot break. And Mercedes would have this beautiful lifestyle ad because they were just launching a new car this fall, and you would hit 2 or 3 million viewers on a Sunday night. Now with digital monetization, you have an agency and you have the old way, but you also have dynamic ad insertion for your live viewing that goes into our ad servers. At the bottom here, you have our audience segment. So we have another server that feeds into that. DMPs are the data management platform, so that will hold, who is watching. And so now instead of having a one to many or broadcast signal out, we really have people coming to us. So we have signals, let's say from my device, I watch on an LG smart TV, or actually it's my Apple TV. I don't even watch through LG's system. My sister has a Roku and my dad has an old Sony. So I don't, he has actually cable and linear and all of the other toys. So we're all watching on different devices. So now we have the content data that's coming in on one side and our user and our device data that's coming in on the other side. And the content data now that used to be done manually through books and Numeris is done automatically in our digital, in our ad management platforms. So if Mercedes comes and does a direct buy, and let's say they have $100,000, their budget is $1 million. So they'll say to CBC Radio Canada, here's $100,000, give me a proposal. And we'll say, okay, this is great. I have a mix of young, urban, affluent professionals, and as well, more mature, safe drivers for sedan. And we will be able to deliver on 3 different audiences. So when I talked about advertisers wanting that personalization and digital on that Sunday night, instead of having one lifestyle ad for everybody, they will have personalization. They can have one sports car for me, an EV vehicle for my sister, and maybe something more about road and safety for my dad, or a dealer in Tremblant with associated with Mercedes to direct them to there. So if Mercedes comes to us, we can deliver on that personalization and deliver across these audiences and three different audiences. And so this is what I mean. So the arrows are going out now, same slide. What happens though most of the time is that clients such as Mercedes in automotive and finance and pretty much any advertiser that has a digital ecosystem, they don't want to buy directly anymore because they want to apply their own data onto their advertising campaign. And so we're adding now another layer of technology or ad tech that we talk a lot about. And in that layer, you're adding, so we have a data management platform. A client has a consumer data management platform, a CMP or a DMP or other data that they want to append. And so Mercedes can tell, if I went into a dealer in Montreal, or if I went to the car show and gave my email, then I become an attractive consumer. But they also have, of course, their own people who went to their websites, etc. So this is why most advertisers now prefer programmatic market, to be able to control and understand who is viewing their ads and when, and having that measurement ability and power. So again, the digital viewing, we're still watching the same show on Sunday night, all 3 of us. And Mercedes has the same budget, $1 million. Technically, we have 100,000 that used to come to CBC Radio Canada or Bell or Québecor. And we have the same people coming in. But now I'm watching on an Apple TV Live, and for some reason there's no metadata saying the show genre and what I'm watching right now. My sister's there, and she has we have their user data and live, and my dad's watching VOD. So we have the user and contextual, and we have more appended data to that. So we really clearly see these 3 different audiences. And now programmatically, Mercedes-Benz will buy those ads. But because now I have no metadata on the live that I'm seeing, well, they're not going to buy it, and I'm gonna get a slate, and then on so here my sister gets an ad, my dad gets an ad, but I'm getting a slate. And Radio Canada CBC, we've just shrank our budget from 100,000 to 60,000. And these are just proportions. They're just to get a point across. They're not real scenarios, obviously, because this actually happens in real time per impression for a million impressions at 50 or $30 per 1,000 impressions. So it's happening all day, all the time, at a speed that sort of boggles anyone's mind. Adding that other layer of complexity to it, we talked about the OEM partners coming into the ecosystem. So when Mercedes-Benz is planning programmatically in this exchange and they have supply side platforms, they see our inventory, but now we're competing live and they also see Samsung and Roku's inventory at the same time. So now it's Sunday night. And now they see that I'm watching, and I'm watching not on Apple TV, but I'm watching on Roku. And so the winning bid, and this is where the impression will come to the advertiser, both from CBC and from Roku at the same time. But if Roku has more data on me than Radio Canada does, because they know what I've watched and they know that I've watched Mercedes ads before, or they know that I watched a BMW ad half an hour ago because they have that screen recognition and they know that I fit that demo perfectly. Maybe they will win that ad instead of Radio Canada winning that ad. The good news in this scenario, like I said, it's a co-competitor. So we do get a revenue share, a portion of that ad impression, but we used to get, $100,000 for it. And now we get, just a small portion of that because they have better signals or better data than we do. The second one, the news signals, the sales at advertiser comes out. This one will be blocked for brand safety. Again, on this subject, because there are so many signals required at every stage of the game. Here, Mercedes-Benz, for some reason, in their ad platform, one of those signals is not coming across. And there's certain things that we're uncovering. This is a very emerging field, but for instance, the rating systems in Canada, E is for exempt, but the most buying platforms copied YouTube's rating system, which is not, and there is not rated, and not rated means it's not safe, because in the YouTube connected TV buying system, it was that not safe was meant like you don't know what creator that could be. And so brands want to protect themselves, and deservedly so. So there's these sort of little glitches along the line. And that's what happens when the line, becomes so complex, because we have demand side partner, supply side partner, and ad manager, and so many layers, like we said, in that fragmentation, that these signals are getting crossed. And we have to work with every advertiser and every buyer to try and see and troubleshoot what's matching and what's not. So now my sister in Tout Mon Appel is also not getting an ad. And my dad's the lucky one. So now for that same scenario where we used to get 3, we sold 1 out of the 3. You can imagine this in real time, all day, every day, thousands of signals, millions of signals. The Blue Jays last week, I mean, their production quality was amazing. And those ads, I know that, watching so many games, we often hear, a lot of users complaining about ad frequency, and we want to manage for that as well. But this is the ecosystem. That we have to compete in every day. So it's really a war of not content anymore and not audiences, because we have the audiences, they're there. But other people in the system can sell them or append data, and our value for that same impression is, maybe 5 or 10% what all the other ad tech layers or data providers are taking on that chain. So data wins the competition, really. The content signal quality and the user profiles, it's really that complete profile. And so those are challenges that we have in monetization, really the fragmentation, the data integration, and adding to that the programmatic capacity. And I really didn't get into, now programmatic capacity that's happening with, the AI layer of agencies and agents now having agents and bots talking to ours to really plan those campaigns and deliver these impressions. So it's getting more complicated by the day and not less. But that was my story for you guys today. I'm trying to get out of here.
Thank you so much, Julie. That's fascinating and a great perspective to really lay it all out.
There's still people here. Did everybody go home and watch a game or something?
They are. I'm seeing hand clap icons going up. Um, not a ton of questions yet in the Q&A, but I have a lot of questions. I didn't want to ask my questions first. I wanted to give everyone a chance to ask. So please, everyone, feel free to add your questions in the Q&A. But Julie, maybe to start with a question from me. Um, just to dive in a little bit to the mechanism, I love those drawings you had of the supply side and demand side. In the traditional world, like your network, any TV station had a sales department. They sold the ads. They then ran the ad and then invoiced the cut the buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that now is somehow it seems kind of abstracted.
Mhm.
Um, are you are you still, or I guess on what platforms do you not sell ads, um, where it's just a negotiation with a buyer and the platform, and where I assume on Gem, obviously you're still selling your ads, but are how are you removed from it on say some of the giants platforms, and how
Yeah.
does it work?
Um, so the system's been evolving gradually, right? So I would say like on a premium property like Gem or Two Point TV, our sales team are still selling the lion's share directly because we have one great relationships and great brands. And in Quebec in particular, there's an ecosystem here that is very strong and they understand the value of direct investments. Not that they don't elsewhere, but there's just more of that competition with the English giants.
Sure.
And so our teams in Toronto in particular, they can still have that direct relationship with an agency and what you would refer to nowadays that volume agreement, but the buying is done programmatically. So even if we have that volume agreement with a large holdco and Mercedes, we say, okay, we're going to spend with you, $1 million for the year. When they buy programmatically, it enables them to append their data to it. And so what happens is that's being eroded because we don't control that delivery anymore. When we had that budget up front, we could run the ads, and if we're short on audiences, we would make up for it as we go along to make sure we deliver on them. Now, when it's in real time, you have to compete for that data. And so that's where we're starting to lose market share because of the level of competition. We
Gotcha.
don't on display. When you see display, advertising, we sell a lot more. People associate programmatic with the open web. So let's say Google search or Facebook Meta was in the news over the last week for selling 12 billion of fraud ads, right? And
Mhm.
anybody who's been on a CBC or a Canadian side has seen fraud ads. Those cryptocurrency ads. They take Trudeau and they take any big personality and they have a fake ad, and you get to a landing page and it looks like a CBC website, but it's a cryptocurrency scam, and it happens on Google and Meta. It was a 12 billion revenue stream for Meta. And Google, we work with them to stop those ads. So those come in from the open market. But their solution is that say it's a game of whack-a-mole. So in terms of the television space, we do not sell our ads in the open market for television because um, having that risk of having these bad ads, I call them bad ads, and having that risk, you can't have that. You can't be watching the national and then have a fraudulent ad come on. Consumers don't know whether this is bought or sold programmatically. Even with our partners with Roku, you're watching a CBC channel, a fast channel on Roku. It's our ombudsman that gets the call if there's an ad that's in the wrong language or that has a song that somebody doesn't like. People do write to us to complain about a song in an ad. So,
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. That answers quite your question, but
It does. Yeah. Yeah. And I see, Jamie, did you note that you have a question?
Yeah, I did, Roy. Let me just trying to start up my video here. I don't know why it's not going now all of a sudden. That's interesting. Anyways, we won't worry about the video for now. Julie, thank you for the presentation. It was really good. We often, Canada often gets lumped in with the US. Oh, there I am. Hi. But I've been seeing a lot of write-ups lately, I guess, kind of saying yes, linear is decreasing and it's increasing on the digital side, but linear is still the best place to put your ad. Are you finding any huge kind of differences between the US and Canada, or are we just lumped in?
Well, so digital has surpassed linear in the US,
Yeah.
for sure. Our system is more resistant, so we are different there. But definitely we are lumped in the sense of that competition when it comes to the digital stream. Like we can't compete on those
Yeah.
levels. And so it's a decision that our governments have to make in terms of the regulation. The CRTC regulates other screens, and so it's an institutional decision that Canadians have to make, I think. So yes, in the sense that linear in Canada gets you further than in the US, and you can still you still need television in your plan in Canada. We're so broad, so vast. We do a
Yeah.
great job, and it's essential to. It's harder in the US. You can do 100% digital plan, and probably not lose sleep over it for sure.
Okay. And then I'll just ask one more, Roy.
Yeah.
Are what impact are you seeing in the industry from the advertisers because of tariffs?
Good question. I think that what we're seeing in our revenues, and I'm not really at liberty to disclose that much, but it's
Sure.
volatility.
Yeah.
It's so volatile. It's so hard, and it's hard for small and medium-sized business. It's hard for national advertisers. So it's been a very, very challenging year. And what happens is the more that these decisions get pushed to the last minute, the more these budgets get pushed to digital because television takes longer to plan and buy. And the more they get pushed to digital, they get pushed to YouTube. So that's sort of the what's sad is that when not what's sad. This is what they've done well. Meta, Facebook, they've built amazing products. We're all consumers. And for advertisers, they made it really easy to buy and to plan, and they give you measure and they give you outcomes. So if you're a Google client and you're a small, automotive dealer in Hamilton, you actually know what you're getting, what kind of ROI you're getting on your spend with Meta, or they tell you the ROI you're getting. I don't know if it's true or not, or if it works, but they'll tell you, right? And this is what we haven't done and we've been slow to do. And this is where, my data teams are also trying to innovate and be proactive. And as Canadian industry, we also need to just not sit back and say, okay, hey, this advertising works. Let us show you how it works.
Thank you.
And Jamie, I see a question
Yeah,
posted there.
yeah. So because we're on the topic, there's a question that says, as an extension of your previous answer, what technical tools as a content owner do you have or use to control ad quality? And it goes on to say, on the linear side, we have ad standards and Think TV that govern food, alcohol, cosmetic, drugs, etc. But on the digital, how are you managing this, or is it all the problem of the ombudsman as you mentioned?
No, we try to actually have somebody on my programmatic team approving creatives manually every day in French, because we do have certain AI tools to help manage and categorize. And Google, when the buyer side, they're supposed to have an ad identifier and say what this ad is and it has been approved, whether you're showing it on YouTube or anywhere else. It's supposed to be vetted. So we have that additional layer, and we have AI crawlers and that are viewing all of the ads that are sent to us. But the majority are still sent to the same ad standards group. Karen Liu, who's our chief at Radio-Canada and CBC for ad standards, we try to look at every. We can't, unfortunately. We have some AI tools to help us, but in French, we do manually to be able to unlock it and ensure that that quality, because English ads are coming through on French networks, and we really don't want that to happen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's more questions coming in. Where do you see programming in terms of creating draws or affecting advertising across platforms? Do you see the form of storytelling becoming fragmented, and in terms of what works best?
Oh, we're testing different things, some content made for digital that goes to TV, some content from TV that's distributed differently. Andrew Chang has a great series on YouTube that they really designed for YouTube and with that data in mind. And then on fast channels, he just packages it differently, on News Explore and other things. So I think it's interesting to be a creator. It's not my expertise, so I can't really answer too much, but we're really looking at those synergies with, especially on the CBC side, more so, I think, with YouTube and with reaching Canadians where they are and on the platform of their choice on TikTok. But if you're on TikTok, you want to stay on TikTok. You don't want to go to a television or a profile, right? So
Right.
I know that, for instance, an experiment we had recently, we're like, why do we have all these false starts on Gem from mobile? Well, it was because of like TikTok content that was really resonating, but then they click on Gem from a mobile. Well, Gem is not optimized for a mobile experience, right? So we had this large set of consumers dropping off. Well, yeah, you want to, if you're TikTok, you want to stay on TikTok, but so we're testing and learning.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I still hear complaints about is the same ad over and over on digital. There's noise complaints because people become used to audio levels being leveled out on linear. But anyways, that's just me mentioning that. Another question was, are there platforms that you avoid because of a lack of regulation?
Yes. I'm just trying to think of one. I'm gonna have to think of one, but yeah, we don't spray. We're very, we're very careful. And I would say, the sound, like there's an AI widget for that. Like our ad servers are supposed to have solved for that, right?
Yeah.
And the frequency, again, if we have better content and data signals, we're trying to be more accessible to small and medium-sized business. And another challenge that we have as a broadcaster is that we sold, national campaigns. And if I was that dealer in Hamilton, I can't afford a national ad on CBC. So my team worked on this platform called Max Ad Platform, and any small and medium-sized business across Canada can go on and buy an ad campaign. We're trying to, and Rogers has done this, and a lot of other Canadian broadcasters, to be more accessible and have that user friendliness that Meta and Google have. So now if you're a dealer in Hamilton, you can buy a campaign and be in the Toronto area on GEM and all of our digital properties, right? So I'm excited because that's really democratizing our ad space to Canadian businesses. And the flip side of that is hopefully having more different ads. And if you're from Hamilton, now you'll see a dealer that you know and that you might actually visit, as opposed to always that same ad, right? So those are some of the things that we're working on and trying to grow.
That's great. We'll throw it back over to you, Roy, until we get more questions.
Sure, sure. Yeah, one more for me. The screen level data that you touched on, Julie, that seems to me like, and you mentioned it's unregulated, but it seems to me that it opens up so much room for innovation and really interesting ways to monetize and get relevant ads to people that would be most interested in them. Would you, do you see that as an area of where there's going to be a lot of growth and change?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. The OEMs have they have a powerful tool now, and they can start to play with it. And I can't remember what it's called, the Roku Village. But during the Olympics and NBC, you could see their activation of Olympics in Paris on Roku, and they have the sponsor village and these interactions. So now they can take that to a different level and really have personalized ad from, if you're Nike and you're watching skating or you're tuning in and out, like, you can do so much and be creative. But again, also it's that it's these AI, from and I've what I hear that advertisers are really interested in too is that AI generated creative that's adaptive. So Oreo, I think, is one of these that, you would think it would be more like these retail brands, but even a consumer brand like Oreo personalizing their ads to their audiences in different ways. So I think you'll see a whole bunch of experiments in ads in the next couple of months that will be interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. It's not, it doesn't have to be the actual screen, the TV manufacturers, right? It can grow to be really any system that a signal is passing through can start to do these creative things. And yeah, and as well, a sports application, we're starting to see more and more ads inserted into sports, live sports, right? Whether it's hockey on the boards or soccer on the panels, on the sides of the pitch. So do you see that as well as another area for revenue growth and
Yeah,
interesting things?
I think our teams will be testing a bunch of new production tools and toys with Milano. So
Right.
it'll be fun to see the innovation, because sports is always, that live factor and having those eyeballs, but you don't know when that moment comes, right? And so the challenge that we have, the hockey gods are coming back, right? So the NHL players are coming back, and if Canada goes and it's a gold medal game, you can't plan for that, and you don't know what those moments are. And there's always a sport that surprises everybody. Like for me, it was volleyball last time around in Paris. Um, but so yeah, I think internally it's E250 project is working on a bunch of different things that we're excited for Milano, but I won't scoop anyone.
And I also you're obviously very interested from your bio in AI, and you touched on it here where there seems to be AI in the ad insertion realm, where it seems to me there's a lot of it is evolving to where there's one AI agent or bot in negotiating with another AI agent or bot as part of the process.
Yeah.
Um, is that accurate? And is that, I mean, AI is everywhere and is well, penetrating all sorts of areas. But if you could expand on that a little bit, that'd be very interesting.
You know what? I'm hoping that, we're leaning into it. I'm hoping it helps to free up our people to talk to business owners and to talk to more
Yeah.
brands, because we've focused our business on large national agencies, and them for sure they'll be using agents and AI And we can still have very lucrative businesses in working that way and operating that way, in the sense, like, if we have the proper signals and the right data and we're communicating. What I would like to be able to for a system to do, for instance, is if I'm a Canadian brand like Desjardins or like RBC, and I don't want to just buy Canadian media for the sake of buying Canadian media, because I'm a marketer. I want ROI and I want to grow my business, right? But if an impression on Tout le monde en parle is an impression on Tout le monde en parle, I would like it to be bought closer, make sure that Radio-Canada gets more revenue for it than Roku or 1,000 different ad tech partners. And so what I would like the agents to be able to say or do is, like, this is the shortest path. Because if you see that chain and that complexity, there's like hundreds of intermediaries. And so an ad that is $100, like, we might get 10 cents or 20 cents. And most advertisers and systems, like, it's that money trail along the way. So I feel that there's potential for these agents and AI to actually cut through the clutter. And for an advertiser, that means, we often hear they want more of their dollars working.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hoping that the advertisers will get. And then I'm hoping that, because we're valued content and valued brands, that it will still be relevant for them and our audiences.
Yeah, interesting. I've heard, and tell me if this is not true, but one of the kind of the barriers for entry and barriers for an efficient advertising ecosystem is for smaller businesses to be able to afford producing a commercial, right? And
Yeah.
and is it possible that this could grow where there are ways to, I don't know, insert their product or their logo in ways that where there's not a lot of production cost required to do that. Is that fair?
I've seen tools out there, and with Max, we're not building them at the CBC. We're just referring them a list of tools that we've vetted and that work. It is really absolutely amazing, because
Yeah,
advertisers and businesses have a website, have a LinkedIn, have a social media account, and now within, by giving a brief and giving all these links into an AI video creative, you can get a creative done in 5 minutes, and then you can tweak it and play with it. And so, you know what, it won't be the Mercedes lifestyle ad and
sure.
beautiful speed shot in the, Lake Como in Italy, but
Yeah.
it'll be, your dealership in Hamilton, and probably really good as well. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting because it again seems to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but the TV business evolved to where the TV networks in Canada would largely sell national ads, and there were fewer and fewer local ads, and largely it seemed to be because of that production cost. So
yeah,
it'd be really nice if that could swing back, and all those businesses, as you say, the local car dealership in Hamilton is served and has a really good way to get their message out.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, totally,
excellent.
that's an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a raised hand. And Julie, we rarely do this.
Okay.
Actually, we normally just take questions from the chat, but we did our first one, in fact, in September. So Pierre Mitras, so forgive me if I'm mispronouncing there, but I'm gonna attempt to unmute you, and you should be able to ask your question. And if you unmute yourself, Pierre, I think you'll be able to speak.
Controller.
No go. Okay. Apologies, Pierre, if that's not working, but if you're able to unmute yourself within your Zoom UI. I think that's what's happening at this point.
I
Okay.
think he's putting in the chat. If I'm understanding, he may not have meant to raise his hand.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And Julie, well, maybe he's typing. You spoke about some of the difficulties and maybe ads not getting to everyone. But if there is an ad in a CBC program, and again, maybe you can't speak to this, but as a ratio, say an ad is seen by 100,000 people on CBC network in a program A, and that same program A is in a digital distribution, and 100,000 people see that program and the ad, is the revenue you received roughly equivalent for both those scenarios, or is it
Yeah, no, this is where people say like $1 in TV is 20 cents in digital,
okay?
because that 100,000 people in TV is one spot. So it's a Super Bowl. If I use a Super Bowl analogy, it's I spend $1 million for that spot because I know I'm getting that audience. Whereas if I have to sell 100,000 spots, then I'm losing, whether the dollars are the same or not, I'm losing all those signals, all those people along the way. So it's impossible for me to win those 100,000 impression. Well, it isn't in the sense that I could if it was a direct IO. But yeah, the economies don't work out that way.
Gotcha. Okay. 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 And you touched a bit on regulation in digital versus linear TV, and that reduces some of the complexity in in content on digital, correct? And I don't know, closed captioned as an example, maybe maybe there are better examples. Certainly, maybe Canadian content is an example, but
Yeah.
is that, could you maybe speak a little bit more to that?
I'm by far not the expert on
Okay,
governance. We have a whole team that's in Ottawa that's very much closer and involved with the CRTC uh,
sure.
consultations. So I can't speak much to that. But yeah, it's a
Okay,
question of CanCon, and it's a question of competition and discovery. So there's many perspectives there.
yeah, okay,
Mm.
okay. Would you agree that and it's maybe not as applicable to CBC, but for other networks in Canada, the model of purchasing US programs and running them on their network,
Mhm.
it seemed to me to be a large percentage of the business model, right? And whereas now it seems Canadians have access to watching programs on Disney Plus or Prime or Netflix, so that business model seems to be strained. Um,
Yeah, it is part of it, but and to quote, my friends at Chorus, you know, the reason that we had that model in Canada was also to support that big news show at Global TV or at
sure,
CTV,
sure,
right? Because you're not
yeah,
making that money on that news show, so you went and got programming from elsewhere, and to be able to do that Canadian production in the middle. So there's historical reasons for why that was, in addition to distribution and network. But it is a decision that we have, and other countries have decided otherwise, that in digital you don't have to have you can only American content or algorithm content, right? We That's a decision the government made. And I'm not for or against it, but
yeah, yeah,
we could ask YouTube to put Canadian content, or even more than that, like Spotify. Spotify is the largest by far behemoth. They own the waves in audio and in music. And so
yeah,
for Canadian music to be known in Canada, It's a huge challenge, and that's something that other countries have regulated and requested that a certain percentage of local content be profiled. And so, again, those are decisions that are available to the government.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. Mm, okay. All right. Well, I think we're don't see any more questions.
Everybody's ready to go to bed.
But Julie, I want to say, yeah, just heartfelt thanks again, all of us at SMPTE Toronto. Really appreciate this. It's fascinating, and I mean, I think it is the biggest challenge of media companies and TV networks and TV stations in Canada is how to engage
Mm.
and build a healthy model, but engage viewers on multiple platforms. So we feel lucky that you were here. I know I can tell that CBC is lucky to have you as a
Yeah.
leader in this space. So really
Well, I
appreciate
wanna
it.
thank you because we're part of the same value chain, right? And so, for me to understand what happens, how things are created, how things are made, and then you guys, at the end of the day, so I think that these conversations, especially in the era we're in of transformation with technology, is so important. So I really appreciate the opportunity here.
Well, yeah, thank you. Great to have you. Thank you so much. Okay. All right.
See.
And
Thank you.
I'll for everyone that's still on the line, I'll let you go, Julie, and I'll do a couple of quick updates on SMPTE Toronto. I'll just share my screen again. All right. Okay. Again, just a couple slides here, a couple quick updates. Our next meeting is again, we're lucky to have another key person from CBC Radio Canada. Pierre Hoog Routhier is going to provide a presentation on HDR, and certainly another really interesting and important topic in our industry. So we look forward to that December 9th, and you'll see the email distribution on that shortly. Again, I want to make sure I plug and promote this our social meetup. As I said, last time was really fun just to get people together and visit and share a drink or a bite of food and just enjoy each other and talk about life and talk about the industry. And so we're doing that again Tuesday, November 18th. Stop by anytime after work between 5 p.m. and 8, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. So everyone, thank you for attending tonight. I think this was really thought provoking, and Julie was great. And it's as she alluded to, it's nice to get a perspective from maybe a part of a perspective that we don't often see directly or engage with directly. But there's so many, I'm sure all of us were thinking of technology solutions and technology implications to what she talked about, and certainly important for our industry. So thank you everyone. Good night, and we'll see you soon.